Nothing said, straight ahead. So I'm making this video today to help you with your mock tests and your real test. And so let me just explain about this for a minute. So your test is going to be following a sat nav for at least like 20 minutes, something like that. And then you're also going to be following signs as well. So following a sat nav, following signs, yep, you've got the blue line to follow, nothing said straight ahead. So what I mean by that is you may see that there's a long blue line for a really long period of time, nothing said straight ahead. The sat nav isn't just repeatedly going to say to you, continue straight on, continue straight on. It's just going to be silent while you continue. So nothing said straight ahead. You may come up to multiple hazards that you need to come to a stop at, like mini crossroads with either stop lines or give way lines, or you may come up to a mini roundabout, a painted one, and it doesn't say anything because you're going straight on, nothing said straight ahead. So it's certainly going to happen with a sat nav, nothing said straight ahead, when you've got multiple things to deal with on your journey. When you're following signs, obviously you're going to be following a sign, but if there isn't a sign, nothing said straight ahead. So if you're like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm coming up to a roundabout, a mini roundabout, and there's no sign to continue telling me to go to Oxford because it's a mini roundabout, nothing said straight ahead, just going to go straight on at that one. The examiner is going to give you far less spoken directions than he used to, but he still will give you some. And obviously when you're learning to drive with your driving instructor, they're still going to give you directions because you're still learning how to drive. You're not going to be doing a sat nav straight away or following signs straight away. So your instructor is sometimes going to direct you as well. But yeah, certainly on your test, you're going to be directed by the examiner. So when the examiner's directing you, he will either say, I'd like you to take the next road on the left, or I'd like you to take the next road on the right, or whatever. Or he may say at a roundabout, follow the road ahead, it's the second exit. So when you're using a roundabout that's a bigger roundabout, the examiner does need to tell you where you're going. So the examiner, if he's talking to you about where you're going, is going to say something like, at the roundabout, I'd like you to turn left, it's the first exit. Now this is good because he's just told you to signal. So if you hear the word left or right, you need to use a signal. So it's almost like a cheat code. So if he says left or right, you're signaling. But if you're coming up to a roundabout and he says at the roundabout, I'd like you to follow the road ahead, it's the second exit. Because he said follow the road ahead, there's no signal to begin with. So it's a bit of a cheat really. But then when you go in, if the roundabout has a curb in the middle, then you're going to signal when you leave. However, when you're driving around with the examiner, if you're coming up to like a little mini crossroads or a bigger crossroads and he just wants you to go straight on, he's not going to say anything. Nothing said straight ahead. You might turn around to your examiner and say, oh, is it straight on here? And of course, that's fine. It's absolutely fine, but he'll just say yes. Or if you're on a mock test, your instructor will probably stay silent and then you might turn around to them and say, is it straight on here? And they'll just go, yes, because you're following the road ahead. I've sat in the back of exams before all the changes happened. And even at a mini roundabout, I've seen instructors not speak because they want the student to go straight on. Their little speech that they certainly used to do before all the changes was something along the lines of, I'd like you to follow the road ahead at all times unless road markings or signs say otherwise. And if I want you to turn left or right, I'll tell you in good time. If you need anything like reiterated to you about your directions, of course you can ask. That's pretty much the only question that you can ask, like about your directions. It's absolutely fine. You can ask about where you're going. The only one that he's not going to help you with is the one-way systems. So if you're driving around and like it blatantly has a one-way system and it's like you can only turn left here at this T-junction, if you were to say to him, which way am I going? He's just going to say, do what you think is right. Now, hopefully, like that type of answer will make you go, hold, what? That's weird. Like, why has he not told me where to go? And then you would go, because there's a one-way arrow. Yeah. And then hopefully that would make you wake up to the fact that there must be a one-way somewhere. But hopefully you would be seeing that anyway, because one way, you can obviously only turn that way. So there should be road markings on the floor or signs to help you to know that it's a one way. Yeah. Just scanning my memory now, I remember having a student, there's a part of the test route in Cheltenham where they ask you to go into the right lane. I call it the Blockbuster video turn. That's how old, that's how long I've been a driving instructor. I still call it that in my mind. But they ask you to go into the other lane. And then when you're in that lane, it's a right turn only. And then they just don't say anything. And one of my students said, where do you want me to go? After he'd put her in that lane. And he just said, well, do what you think is right. And then she went straight on, and that wasn't allowed. It was a right turn only lane that she was in. And she tried to go straight on, which was really not correct at all, because there was literally an island in front of her. So she would have gone forward towards the island and then needed to go to the left. It was a bit of a disaster, I'm afraid. But if it's a one way, then, you know, they're not going to say, oh, turn left. They're going to say, do what you think is right, because the sign is clearly saying that. So you're going to be sometimes directed by the examiner, but it's getting less and less with all the changes that have happened, because it's supposed to be more independent, your drive, sat-nav, following signs, and minimal discussion from the examiner. But there is some. Okay, he's obviously got to ask you to pull up on the left. But cheat code, if you hear him saying left or right, yeah, you're going to be signalling. Yeah, pull up on the left, mirrors signal. Take the next road on the left, signal. Take the next road on the right, signal. At the roundabout, I'd like you to follow the road ahead, no signal, until you're leaving the roundabout if it's got a curb in the middle. All right, guys? So if you're following a sat-nav's blue line, all right, nothing said straight ahead. It may be blue. You know, obviously you're not just going to be doing your driving test your whole life. You're going to be using a sat-nav to actually drive to like hugely far away places like Scotland and stuff, right? And obviously the blue line's going to be a long straight line for ages sometimes, but you're going to come up to multiple hazards where it won't be saying anything about it at all, but you'll have to be dealing with the mini roundabout or the little mini crossroads or the traffic lights or whatever. Yeah, so anyway, I really hope that helps. Nothing said straight ahead, and yeah, just keep it in mind. I hope that really helps you.